All right, guys, it's Dr. Klein. I'm gonna get on my soapbox, but I'm only allowed to be on my soapbox in a flat foot squat. So that means I can only complain so long. What I want to talk about today is people are always taking supplements and herbs and CBD, and they're taking baths and CBD, and they're just spending all this money on all this natural allopathic, homeopathic stuff, but they're never working on the basics. I'm not saying that stuff is bad. It's if we're not addressing things like breathing and squatting, which are natural human movements to reduce stress. There's always that chronic stress on our nervous system. Guess what's not going to work? Your gut. You're not going to be absorbing things like you should be. Then you're feeling like, man, I always have to take these herbs and these vitamins, there's so much crap every day just to survive. And that's not how it's supposed to be. Yeah, you should be able to take that stuff, restore your gut flora. I get the pitch, I've pitched it myself. But if we don't learn how to squat, we don't learn how to breathe properly, find a good strength coach, come visit me here at The Fix, and we'll set you on the right path. Yeah, because even chiropractors, you're getting adjusted all the time, and we're never addressing the cause, right? It's not chiropractor's job to teach you how to move. I get that. I like to teach people how to move because the adjustments last longer, right? They actually start to see improvement where they never saw it before. Today we'll be working on the overhead squat, and I don't want that to scare you, because really the overhead squat is the last thing we're going to do. We're going to build up to it. So this is a good video for anyone has pain with the overhead squat, doesn't know what an overhead squat is, or maybe they've been doing it for a while, they're really good at it, they can lift a lot of weight, but it's started to hurt. This video is for you. Now we're going to go step by step, starting with breathing, getting good hip range of motion, good shoulder range of motion, so our spine can be happy. All right, soapbox done. Whew. Let's talk about breathing. Don't need a band for this, but highly recommend. We're gonna put that band, let's do it without the band first. For those who don't have a band, only band, I won't get too crazy today. Kettlebell, band, probably all you need. Start hands on your rib cage. If you're familiar with foundation training, this will be kind of similar type of breath style, more intra-abdominal because we're trying to brace the spine. So I'm taking a big breath, wide into the ribs. Now with decompression breath, we're gonna expand and then maintain that expansion. Lower belly bones. Trying to expand this rib cage, especially the cylinder down here. A lot of people breathe, they breathe the shoulders up, and they breathe the ribs forward. So the band's gonna help us out with this in a second. Let's take a few breaths just right there. Widen into the back. Really tightening down that transverse abdominis. Now when you do anything like a squat, we quick inhale, and we lock down, right? Brace. So not a lot of motion happens at the lumbar spine. We want the hips doing the work, not the spine, especially with the overhead squat. You'll see a lot of hyperextension right there. So let's go back to our band. Exactly where the hands were, but now we'll get a little more feedback in the back of the rib cage where our posterior serratus muscles are. So I'm holding this here too, which helps lock me down in the front. If my ribs are thrusting forward, now they can't because I'm locking them down with the band here. So get it on the ribs, your floating ribs are right here. Make sure you got those there. Locking that down. Breathe wide into the back. Mostly just going for expansion right now. We're trying to let that air out slowly. We don't want to just collapse, right? Maintain expansion. Forcefully filling up that cylinder. It should be hard, it should be shaking a little bit. We're trying to get muscles to fire that we're not used to. The lats, posterior serratus muscles, which help expansion, are going to help protect that lumbar spine. All right, so now let's get some movements in there. I want you to think about that breath. Think about that band. They make little belts too, breathing belts, breath belts, I think they're called. Let's just warm up with our king squat. King hinge. Let's do a little founder first for the sake of foundation training. A really wide founder. You want to open up the hips. So get those feet really wide. Feet forward. If you know foundation training, do the decompression breath. If not, hands on the ribs again. Pull the hips back. So we filled up the cylinder. Make sure we're not bending from the back. Fill up the cylinder so we can get the hips to move. Go into our founder, unlock the knees a little bit. Sink really deep into that. Find the tremor, shake. Belly the hamstring, glutes, head and neck long. A few of those breaths. Let's go down to the floor. Forward fold, but let the hips reach back. If it's too hard, get a chair, get your hands up on there. Work on a little ankle mobility here. So dorsiflexing the left foot. Put it down. Let's do 5 on one side, 5 on the other. You're gonna feel that calf stretch. You can feel this shin activate. With a big calf hamstring stretch. And a little stretch on the opposite groin. That's 4 or 5. Let's do 5 on the other side. Breathing the belly away from the ground. Nice and slow. Moving through water. Not rushing anything right now. Moving through honey. Take natural maple syrup. Wet cement. Take your analogy. Hands on the shins. Neck long. All right, now let's do those king squats. So we'll start feet facing forward. Good hinge. So we're just going over the founder, hinging. Hands come down to the toes. And you'll see a lot of weightlifters do this. They kind of get their neck nice and long when they wrap and pull the barbell up. Flattening the back out as much as they can. Hug the floor a little bit here with your legs. Get your hips to turn in. And then we're going to spread the floor as we drop into a squat. Press out of that. Let's repeat that 10 times. The goal here is to lengthen the spine, lock it with a nice breath, force the hips to move. Spreading the floor, hugging the floor, spread the floor, open up the knees. Not doing a good job at counting today, as long as you do 10. If this hurts, don't quit, shake it off, hang in there. But say that's around 10. Go until your hamstrings are on fire. That's the goal. Should have felt the hip flexor working a little bit. Let's go back to our band. It doesn't have to be a heavy band like this. And we're not trying to get a ton of stretch. People get bands in their hands, they're just trying to stretch them as far as they can. That's not the goal. Just a little bit of activation. Start hands in the band, or if you just got a normal thin band, that's fine. Just grab it, stretch it. Think about that breath. We're tightening the stomach. Bring that band right on your waistline there, waistband. Let's just go overhead with this. Do a few of those. Big breath in. Transition overhead. Go a little bit behind, right? In the overhead squat position, we got those shoulders coming back behind us. We're lifting the head up and forward. We're not jutting the head like that, right? And we don't want that because it compresses the back of the neck. Here we're getting nice and lengthened in the low back. Driving the head up, forward, front of the neck tight, abs tight. You might even feel those hip flexors work. A little stretch in the chest. Let's go all the way from the floor. Down. We're gonna squat. Little stretch on that band, get the shoulders active. The goal is to try and keep those elbows pretty straight, arms locked as we drive overhead, right? Try a few of those out. See how the overhead squat feels. If you're like me, you can't get very deep. You hit a wall here. We need good shoulder mobility, we need hip mobility. Ankle is something that's missed. I know it's missed because my ankle's terrible already. Maybe you've had surgery like me. We'll talk about how to work around that. Big stretch. I sort of threw a few of those, 10 if you can. All the way down. All the way up. So we don't even really have to get into heavy weight if you've never done this before. The band is a good first step. Or even broom handle, whatever you got. I have a series called Exile Strong. I talk a lot about movements we're supposed to be doing. So you're probably wondering, well, when would I ever do an overhead squat in real life? Yeah, it's something you should be able to do. It's a good diagnostic tool. Let you know, oh, I can't do this, must be a problem. Which you should always do. That's why when you train, you realize, oh, can't do that, that's a problem. I talk a lot about the ancient Israelites living in Egypt, lifting heavy things. They need to be able to squat good, they need to be strong, they need to do a lot of head carrying. So to get things into a head carry position, a guy would have to lift this, probably do an overhead squat and get it up there on his head or on his shoulder to carry something heavy, 100 pounds, a long distance. Now I'm not going to make you put anything on your head today, just showing how the overhead squat is a practical movement. We should be using it. Keep drinking a little bit here. So if you're doing these and you're struggling, something as simple as some 2x4s can help you. It's going to lift the heel lift or some weight plates work. This will kind of let you know if you have an ankle mobility issue. So I'm going down. Now I can get a lot of depth out of my squat. Feels a lot more comfortable. My knee's allowed to go over my toe more. That's showing you probably got a lot of ankle restriction. But before we attack that directly, let's get into some exercises here. We just warmed up the shoulders pretty good. We're doing an exercise called, long name, mouthful, Bulgarian split squat. Because we want to challenge each leg to figure out if there's a one-sided issue. So let's start on my strong leg. Left leg forward. Don't need something high, maybe even a couple textbooks. I'm using a yoga block, and I'm just going to keep my foot in dorsiflexion on that yoga block. So I'm stepping out. I want to be able to go down to the ground where my shin gets a little diagonal and my body is too. I'll show you from the side so you can see it better. But bracing, breathing, especially on the way down. Inhale. I like to think about almost getting that knee and kettlebell to tap at the same time. Don't have to. You can stop here if you're feeling your hips gone all the way as can. That's fine. 10 each side. Actually, let's do 10 here. So the kettlebell is in the opposite hand of the leg that's forward. The goal here is to get 80% of the way in that front leg. 90, 80% of the weight. Pull weight out of that front leg. Out of the back leg. Back leg's there just so you don't fall over. So that's probably more than 10. Switch hands. Same foot forward though. This is just to challenge you a little different. You don't see this one often, but I like it. Breathe and brace. Essentially this is what? A one-legged squat, right? Still driving up, pulling my head and neck tall. Good. I'll show you from the side here. I start to feel a little pressure there in my back, so I just didn't go as deep. So you can just play around with it. And you're looking for which side feels harder, more off balance, stuff like that. So now right leg forward. From the side here, see if that helps you. It's always tricky getting this thing set up. Sometimes even like starting at the bottom position. And here, this angle, the surgery angle, it doesn't go as far, so I'm definitely not going to push that one. Try and get that knee over toe, find that stiffness in the front hip. Try to keep the weight in the front hip. My torso angle should match my shin angle. Both diagonal. We don't want to be back here because all the weight goes in the back leg. So you should feel a little woo, testing that front leg. Immediately I can feel the burn. This leg is weaker. Switch hands, do another 10. Big burn, glute, hamstring, all that's getting stretched out. We're using this hip flexor to pull us slowly down to the position. The glute's getting burnt out because it has to. It's in a stretch position at the bottom. Squeeze, press ourselves out of position. So now, that should help the ankle just by itself. That's gonna help that stiff ankle. Maybe they're both stiff. So, whatever side felt weaker to you, if they both felt weak, just do an extra 5 on each side. Now this is a crazy setup. You probably don't have this, but what you do is take a band, tie it to a rack, similar to the one we were just using, right over that ankle joint. That's your talus bone. That's what allows that extra dorsiflexion, allows that knee to track over the toes. So if there's restriction there, I know there's restriction, I've seen it on an x-ray, there's arthritic buildup. You want to break that up. Loosen up the tendons. Make sure it doesn't slide. So I like to, you can even do this without. Just prop up again. Just run through some motions. Let that knee come forward. Get some good stretch on the band. Feeling good with that. You can go a little deeper into it. Trick is kind of get the band where you want it. Keep that knee forward. It's going to be tough going forward because it doesn't want to go that direction because the ankle's not allowing it. But the band should almost help. I feel like you can go a little farther than normal. So let's set up again with some weight. Consistently reaching my hip behind me too. Most of my weight in my front leg. Oh God. Should feel looser. That should, not gonna fix your hip imbalance right away. I'm just gonna sit you on the right track and now you're aware that there's a one-sided weakness issue, right? Chiropractor, like one leg shorter than the other. Well, what do I do about it? This is what you do about it. Look for exercises that are hard on one side. The permanent fix. This is a weakness issue. It's always a weakness issue. No one can fix the weakness issue but you. Sorry, I'm supposed to be on my soapbox for that. All right. So now I'm kind of playing this by ear. So I'm going to get some weight. I don't want to go too heavy. And if you don't have 2 kettlebells, just use one. Actually, we'll just start with one. Take it overhead. Just hold it. All right, we'll do 10 breaths, 1 kettlebell, each side, then 10 breaths, double kettlebell. I'm gonna go heavy though. Heavy as I can go. I only got 45. All right, if you're not familiar with kettlebells, just easily get this up. Not easily, but slowly get it up. If you don't know the swing, holding that there. Tighten that down. Head and neck long. Straighten that elbow out. 10 breaths. Breathe away from your fingertips. Good. Little tactical switch for style points. Don't put your kettlebells down like that. So I got 2 uneven weights, and that's okay. Just do 5 breaths, switch it, do another 5. Your arms will break. What we're trying to do is just increase our overhead strength. We want that before we try to do a squat with it. We need that good shoulder mobility as well. The band helped us out with that a little bit. Now we're testing without some weight. Work on the squat some more, and then we'll try the overhead squat and we'll be done. So play around with these initial steps. If you don't remember anything, just remember, breathe. Go back to the beginning, work on that breath. That's really important. Now this next one, I want you to even think about it. Think about breathing, breathe in, and just need to think about going into the squat. It might seem like a terrible thought if you've never done these before. For me, it's like, ooh, it's gonna be hard. Just get it mentally in your brain, preparing your body, your brain to work as one. That breath, really important to brace the low back so we don't end up arching and hyperextend. You'll lose that engagement in the neck. You lose the engagement in here. The spine goes into extension. A lot of people are there all the time. So we'll see the pelvis shifted way forward, and they think in good posture. They're like, well, I gotta get my head back. And then we're losing that thoracic curve, which is really important. We're trying to even get a little bit of rounding here. So we can breathe the shoulder blades away, create space in between the shoulder blades, space in the back of the ribs. Why? Because that helped us engage the hip flexors and the stomach. For always an extension, this isn't working, that isn't working, the spine is getting driven down by gravity because your hips aren't underneath it. So definitely check out Foundation Training Principles, and they talk a lot about these mechanical issues. Can't just think better posture if you have no idea what good posture is. Let's do another 5 of these, overhead, big breath, think about going into the squat. Maybe you can just do a mini squat with me. Start testing it out, feeling that depth. Start feeling some pressure here. You're starting to do that thoracic extension. Just keep working on the breath, working on that engagement. That'll help you. Let's drop down to 1 kettlebell. Let's just do some squats. Work on getting depth with weight. That's something we haven't really done too much. We did a little bit with the Bulgarian. But let's just bring this guy up into a rack position. Right there. Core strong. Slow this down. Don't let the butt tuck, right? You see that butt tuck? Avoid that too. The head does that. Keep all that tight. Little movement as possible, little movement possible is from the low spine. Feel the front of the hips working. Just 5 or 6, switch it up. This again is going to challenge one leg over the other, even just having the weight stacked on one side. Fill up that cylinder. Spread the floor with your legs. Make sure your knee is tracking over your foot properly, over that middle of the foot. Root the feet in. Don't speed up too fast. Start getting tired. Start like, oh, I gotta get through these 6. Maybe just 3, maybe just 1. Slow to start. Really think about that motion. Good. Let's do a few snatches here. We just did a few. Let's just really warm up that shoulder. That weight it's flying, so we can really work on loosening up that stiff shoulder. Now we're doing it a little one at a time. Just a few. All right, all that work. Let's get to what we're here for today. Is the overhead squat. So, get your blocks back out if you need them. This is probably excessive, but you'll see the difference. Me squatting with these, how deep I can go versus without. Let's just do 1 kettlebell. So heels up on there. You can allow the knees to go a little farther into the squat. That's a little different. Good. Just 3 each side. Good. Now let's try the same thing without. Probably notice you're gonna have to change your stance, maybe go a little wider. I'll show you from the side what I do. And here I just like to do 1 at a time. Assuming that's not gonna all happen right away. You might have good shoulder mobility right away, and just focus on the spine the rest of it. If you're like me, you're just doing this all day, you're slamming out people, your shoulders are getting internally rotated, yeah, you're gonna have trouble opening. Your shoulder's gonna get locked. It's like, oh, I can't go anymore. Your spine's like, well, let me help out. And it's gonna go into that extension. So you're gonna see a little bit of that with me. Do what I say, not what I do. We're all working. We're only working against ourselves. Right? You're not competing against me. You're competing against your body, feeling what's right for you. Pretty similar start. Same side that's got the kettlebell, I'll step, squat, up, rack, tactical switch, step to the left, breathe, up. If you're getting a lot of low back pain, or getting a little pressure there, go back to your wedges. Let's try a few here. Give you at least this ankle. That was better slowing it down. Play around with it. If it hurts, don't just like, oh, gotta stop, it hurts. Breathe more. better. And we'll end there today. Short and sweet, a lot of little steps though. Breathing. Bulgarian split squat, working on one side. That band's good at opening up the shoulders. If it starts hurting, just go back to that band. Get those shoulders to open up, that little bit of a stretch. Sometimes helps you lock out, get that rotator cuff working. Don't feel super far there. Just want that little bit of external rotation. We don't want to arch though. Keep the core tight. The breath is everything. Hopefully that helps. That end goal, you can see how I'm still working on that. Right, still need the wedges, still need a heel lift. Challenge you to do it barefoot because then you'll feel your feet. I can feel my feet moving sometimes. That reminds me, I'll keep spreading the floor. Root your feet hard to the ground. Check out foundation trainings, work on breath, but also rooting of the feet. There are 3 points of contact they talk about, and that sets up a strong foundation to protect your spine. Gets you out of this sway position, gets the hip back underneath you, the feet and the hips press the ground away to support the spine from the ground up versus your shoulders lifting. It's like I said on my soapbox at the beginning, breathing, bending or squatting, most repetitive actions we do all day. 20 to 30,000 breaths a day. So if you're breathing from your shoulders, you're flaring the ribs every time, yeah, you're using certain muscles, which is going to create a disease pattern, a degenerative pattern in the muscular system, joints, and then the nervous system. So it goes through all those stages of degenerative joint disease and tendinopathy, all that happening together, and then we get neurological stuff going on. Same thing with bending. Bend about 4,000 times a day. It's a lot. Whether you're bending or squatting, it needs to be the right movement. It's not about more movement, it's about slowing it down, teaching your body to move correctly, because no matter what you're doing, even if you're sitting at a computer station all day, you're still using certain muscles. You can still teach your body to resist gravity. All right? So stay strong. If you have pain with any of that, come in to The Fix. Follow me on Facebook. Follow my channel, The Fix, on Facebook. And we'll assess you, give you the right movements you need, the right exercises you need, teach you how to breathe, work through any joint restrictions you have, and help you on the help you get there faster. That's the goal. That should be the goal with chiropractic. A tool to help you, not some guys magically fixing it, all right? Because these degenerative patterns, they don't go away without training. Hands down, no chiropractor can adjust a degenerative pattern away. Promise you. I believe it can happen. It's like Sasquatch. I've never seen it. I believe he's there. But so until I'm holding out for hope on that one, that I can magically adjust your atlas and all these muscular imbalances, just go away. I'd like to see it, but in 10 years of practice, it's not something I have seen. So I'm just being honest. Take care, guys. Have a nice day.